The Galactic Standoff. The vast chamber of the Galactic Council hummed with tension. Representatives from 100 alien races shifted uneasily in their seats, their varied physiologies, from insectoid to gaseous, all displaying signs of stress. At the center of the amphitheater, a holographic display flickered, showing the unstoppable advance of the Zarkon Empire's fleet. Ambassador Zenla, a tall, willowy being with iridescent skin, stood at the podium. Her voice, usually melodious, cracked with urgency. The Zarkon have already conquered 3 systems in the past solar cycle. Their technology surpasses anything we've encountered. If we don't act now, there won't be a free galaxy left to defend. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly, but they were tinged with fear. The Zarkon were unlike any threat the Galactic Alliance had faced before. Their ships seemed impervious to conventional weapons, their tactics ruthless and unpredictable. From the shadows at the edge of the chamber, a figure stepped forward. Ambassador Marcus Chen of Earth, the newest member of the Galactic Alliance, cleared his throat. Perhaps it's time we considered alternative strategies. The chamber fell silent. All eyes turned to the human, some with curiosity, others with thinly veiled disdain. Humanity had only achieved faster-than-light travel a mere 50 years ago, and many older races still viewed them as upstarts, barely out of their cosmic cradle. And what, pray tell, could your species possibly offer that we haven't already considered? The question came from Grix, a bulbous creature whose gelatinous form rippled with skepticism. Marcus stepped closer to the center, his movements deliberate. We may be new to your galactic community, but humanity has a long history of warfare. We've developed unconventional approaches to seemingly unwinnable situations. A collective shudder passed through the assembly. Many races had studied Earth's history, and the human's capacity for both creation and destruction was legendary. It was precisely this duality that had made many wary of fully embracing humanity into the fold. Zenla's antennae twitched with interest. What exactly are you proposing, Ambassador Chen? Marcus took a deep breath. We have a fleet, ships we've kept, off the official records, vessels that combine our most advanced technology with strategies honed through millennia of conflict. We're willing to deploy them against the Zarkon. The chamber erupted into chaos. Some representatives shouted in outrage at the deception, others in fear of what human warships might be capable of. A few voices rose in support, desperate for any solution to the Zarkon threat. Grix's form bubbled with agitation. Absolutely not. We all remember what happened the last time a young race was given too much power too quickly. Half the Andromeda arm is still uninhabitable. Marcus stood his ground. We're not asking for permission to conquer. We're offering to defend, to fight alongside you, not against you. Zenla raised her arms, calling for order. As the clamor subsided, she fixed Marcus with a penetrating gaze. These ships of yours, what makes them so special? How can they stand against the Zarkon when our most advanced fleets have failed? A small smile played at the corner of Marcus's lips. Innovation, Ambassador. Humans have a knack for thinking outside the box. Our ships aren't just powerful, they're adaptable. We've developed systems that can analyze enemy tactics in real time and formulate countermeasures on the fly. He paused, letting his words sink in. But more than that, we bring determination. Humanity has faced extinction-level threats before in our own solar system. We've learned that backing down isn't an option. We fight with everything we have because we understand what's at stake. The council chamber had grown quiet, a mix of hope and apprehension hanging in the air. Zenla's voice was soft, but carried to every corner. And if we unleash your ships, can you guarantee you'll stand down once the threat is neutralized? Marcus met her gaze steadily. I can guarantee that we'll do everything in our power to protect this galaxy, all of it, including from ourselves if necessary. We're not looking to replace one empire with another. We want to be part of this community, to explore and grow alongside you all. For a long moment, No one spoke. Then, from the back of the chamber, a gravelly voice broke the silence. It belonged to Kraz, the eldest member of the council, a being so ancient that rumors claimed he remembered the birth of stars. "I have watched civilizations rise and fall," Kraz intoned, his words heavy with the weight of eons. "I have seen the best and worst of what sentient life can offer. And I say this, in the face of annihilation, we must be willing to take risks. The humans have shown both the capacity for great destruction and for great compassion. Perhaps it is time we gave them the chance to prove which path they will choose." A ripple of assent began to build. Zhenla looked around the chamber, gauging the mood. Finally, she turned back to Marcus. "Very well, Ambassador Chen. The council will convene to vote on your proposal. But know this, if we agree, the fate of the galaxy will rest in humanity's hands. The consequences of failure, or of betrayal, are unimaginable." Marcus nodded solemnly. "We understand the weight of this responsibility, Ambassador, and we're ready to bear it." As the council began to disperse to deliberate, Marcus felt the weight of countless alien gazes upon him. He had opened the door, but what lay beyond was uncertain. Humanity had clamored for a chance to prove itself on the galactic stage. Now that chance was coming, and it would arrive in the form of an enemy that threatened to extinguish all they had ever known. In the depths of space, unbeknownst to the council, the human fleet waited. Sleek ships of impossible geometries, their hulls rippling with barely contained energy. At their head, the flagship Defiance stood ready, its captain already receiving encrypted transmissions about the unfolding situation. The stage was set. Humanity was about to step into the spotlight of galactic history. Whether they would be saviors or conquerors remained to be seen. But one thing was certain, the galaxy would never be the same again. The reluctant heroes, Captain Alina Reyes, stood on the bridge of the HSS Defiance, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display, showing the Zarkon fleet's advance. The massive dreadnoughts of the alien armada dwarfed even the largest ships in the Galactic Alliance's navy. Yet Alina felt a familiar calm settling over her. This was what she and her crew had trained for. "Status report," she called out, her voice steady and commanding. Her first officer, Commander Akira Tanaka, responded promptly. "All systems green, Captain. The fleet is in formation and awaiting your orders. The Galactic Council has transmitted the coordinates for our rendezvous with their remaining forces." Elena nodded, a hint of a smile playing at the corner of her lips. "Looks like the politicians finally decided to let us off the leash. Inform the fleet. We jump in 5 minutes." As the bridge crew bustled with activity, Elena's mind wandered to the events of the past week. The debate in the Galactic Council had been fierce, with many races still wary of involving humans in the conflict. But desperation had won out over caution. Now, the fate of countless civilizations rested on their shoulders. "Captain," a voice cut through her thoughts. It was Dr. Zara Vega, the ship's chief scientist and resident Sino expert. "I've been analyzing the data on Zarkon technology. There's something odd about their energy signatures." Elena raised an eyebrow. "Odd how, Doctor?" Zara's brow furrowed as she pulled up a series of complex diagrams on her tablet. "Their shields, their weapons, they all operate on principles we've never encountered before. It's as if they're drawing power from somewhere else." "Another dimension?" Elena asked, her interest piqued. "Possibly. Or maybe they found a way to harness dark energy. Either way, it explains why conventional weapons have been so ineffective against them." Elena's mind raced with the implications. If the Zarkon were indeed tapping into an unknown power source, it could change everything. But it also meant they were flying into battle against an enemy whose capabilities they didn't fully understand. "Keep working on it, Doctor. Any insight you can give us could be the key to turning this war around." As Zara nodded and returned to her station, Elena turned to address the entire bridge. "Listen up, everyone. What we're about to do goes beyond any simulation, any training exercise we've ever run. We're not just fighting for Earth or even for humanity. We're fighting for every sentient being in this galaxy." She paused, making eye contact with each crew member. "The Galactic Alliance is putting their trust in us. Some of them think we're saviors. Others are convinced we're loose cannons who'll do more harm than good. It's up to us to prove the former right and the latter wrong." Commander Tanaka spoke up, his voice carrying a mix of determination and concern. "Captain, the Zarkon fleet outnumbers us nearly 3-1. Even with our advanced tech, those aren't good odds." Alina's lips curved into a grim smile. "When have humans ever let bad odds stop us, Commander? Besides, we've got a few tricks up our sleeves that the Zarkon won't see coming." She turned back to the main view screen, where the countdown to the jump was displayed. "This is what we were built for. This is why Earth poured resources into this fleet while the rest of the galaxy wasn't looking. Not for conquest, not for power, but for moments like this, when we'd be needed to stand against impossible odds." As the final seconds ticked away, Alina settled into her command chair. "Helm, initiate jump sequence. Let's introduce ourselves to the Zarkon." The Defiance shuddered as its faster-than-light drive engaged. In a flash of impossible light, the human fleet vanished from Earth's orbit, hurtling across vast stretches of space towards their rendezvous point. They emerged in a system on the fringes of Galactic Alliance territory. A ragtag fleet of alien ships awaited them, the last line of defense against the Zarkon advance. Alina could sense the mix of hope and trepidation emanating from the Allied vessels as they caught sight of the human warships. Before she could open communications, however, alarms blared across the bridge. "Multiple contacts," shouted the sensor officer. "Zarkon signatures detected. They're already here." The view screen lit up with the intimidating sight of the Zarkon Armada. Their ships were monstrous constructs of dark metal and pulsing energy, defying conventional laws of physics and shipbuilding. "Battle stations," Alina commanded, her voice cutting through the sudden tension on the bridge. "All ships, assume defensive formation Alpha. Let's show these Zarkon what humanity can do." As the human fleet moved into position, shielding the weaker Alliance ships, the first salvos from the Zarkon fleet lit up space. Energy beams of impossible power lanced out, striking the leading edge of the human formation. But instead of the expected devastation, something remarkable happened. The human ships' hulls rippled and shifted, absorbing and redistributing the energy of the attacks. It was as if the vessels were alive, adapting in real time to the threat they faced. "Return fire," Alina ordered. "All ships, commence Protocol Omega." From the human fleet, a barrage of weapons fire erupted, but not the conventional energy weapons the Zarkon might have expected. Instead, swarms of what looked like metallic insects poured forth, each one a self-guided smart projectile capable of seeking out weak points in enemy shields and hulls. The Zarkon fleet's advance faltered as the first wave of these unconventional weapons struck home. Explosions blossomed across their front line, and for the first time since their invasion began, the seemingly invincible armada showed signs of vulnerability. On the bridge of the Defiance, a cheer went up, but Alina remained focused, her eyes darting between tactical displays. This was only the opening move in what promised to be a long and brutal battle. "Good work, people," she said, her voice cutting through the celebration. "But don't get cocky. We've surprised them, that's all. Now comes the real test." As if in response to her words, the Zarkon fleet began to regroup. Their ships started moving in complex patterns, energy building up for what promised to be a devastating counterattack. Alina leaned forward in her chair, a fierce glint in her eye. "All right, Zarkon," she muttered. "You wanted to see what humanity is capable of. You're about to find out." As the two fleets clashed in earnest, the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. The humans had made their entrance onto the galactic stage. Now it remained to be seen whether they would be its saviors or just another civilization, ground under the relentless advance of the Zarkon Empire. Battle of Nebula Prime. The swirling gases of Nebula Prime, cast an eerie glow across the battlefield. For 3 days, the combined forces of the human fleet and the Galactic Alliance had been locked in a brutal dance with the Zarkon Armada. The nebula's unique properties interfered with long-range sensors and communications, forcing both sides into close-quarters combat that was as much about instinct as it was about technology. On the bridge of the Defiance, Captain Alina Reyes hadn't left her post for more than a few hours of fitful sleep. Her uniform was rumpled, her eyes ringed with fatigue, but her voice remained steady as she issued orders. Evasive pattern Delta, she commanded as another barrage of Zarkon energy weapons lit up space around them. Bring us about to heading 047. Target their lead dreadnought with the phase cannons. The Defiance responded like an extension of Alina's will, its adaptive hull shimming to deflect incoming fire as it maneuvered into position. A burst of coherent energy lashed out from the human flagship, striking the massive Zarkon vessel. For a moment, it seemed as if the shot had no effect. Then a series of explosions rippled across the dreadnought's hull. "Direct hit," shouted the weapons officer. "Their shields are fluctuating." A grim smile touched Alina's lips. The phase cannons, weapons that shifted energy between dimensions to bypass conventional defenses, were proving effective against the Zarkon's seemingly impenetrable shields, but the alien behemoths were far from beaten. As if to emphasize this point, a blinding beam of energy lanced out from the wounded dreadnought, catching one of the human destroyers off guard. The smaller ship's adaptive hull struggled to compensate, but the power of the blast was too great. In a flash of silent light, the destroyer vanished, taking its crew of 300 with it. Alina felt each loss keenly, but there was no time for mourning. All ships, concentrate fire on that dreadnought. Let's take the bastard down. As the human fleet coordinated their assault, Dr. Zara Vega's voice cut through the chaos of the bridge. "Captain, I've made a breakthrough in my analysis of the Zarkon energy signatures." "This better be good news, Doctor," Alina replied, her eyes never leaving the tactical display. "It's complicated," Zora said. "The Zarkon aren't just drawing power from another dimension. They're weaponizing the fabric of space-time itself." That got Alina's full attention. "Explain." "Their ships are creating localized areas of distorted space-time," Zora continued. "It's how they're achieving faster-than-light travel without a conventional drive, and it's the source of their weapons' power. But there's a catch. The process is inherently unstable." Commander Tanaka, who had been listening intently, spoke up. "Are you saying we could use this instability against them?" Zara nodded enthusiastically. "Exactly. If we could force their space-time distortions to collapse, we could take out entire ships without ever penetrating their shields." Alina finished, her mind racing with the possibilities. "Excellent work, Doctor. Get with engineering and weapons. I want a plan to exploit this weakness within the hour." As Zara hurried off, Alina turned back to the battle at hand. The Zarkon dreadnought was listing now, its weapons fire becoming erratic. But even as it faltered, 2 more of the massive ships were moving to take its place. "Status report on the Alliance fleet?" Alina asked. Tanaka's response was grim. "Not good, Captain. They've lost nearly half their ships. The ones that remain are falling back to defensive positions around the inhabited systems." Alina nodded, unsurprised. The Alliance races, unused to warfare on this scale, were outmatched by the Zarkon's ferocity. It was becoming clear that the outcome of this battle, perhaps the entire war, would rest on human shoulders. "Open a channel to all human ships," she ordered. As the comm officer signaled readiness, Alina took a deep breath. "This is Captain Reyes. You've all fought with incredible bravery and skill. But now I'm asking for more. The Alliance fleet is faltering. If we don't hold the line here, at Nebula Prime, there'll be nothing standing between the Zarkon and the core worlds." She paused, letting her words sink in. "We're outnumbered and outgunned, but we're not beaten. Earth has faced extinction before, and we've always found a way to survive. Now we're not just fighting for ourselves, but for every sentient being in this galaxy. I'm asking you to dig deep, to push beyond your limits. The Zarkon think they're invincible. Let's show them how wrong they are." A chorus of affirmatives flooded the comm channel. Elena felt a surge of pride in her fellow humans. Despite the odds, despite the losses, they were ready to give everything. "All ships, form up on the Defiance," she commanded. "We're going to punch straight through their center. Activate all forward shields and weapons. This is where we make our stand." As the human fleet consolidated into a spearhead formation, with the Defiance at its tip, the Zarkon responded. Their remaining ships began to cluster, forming a wall of gleaming metal and pulsing energy. "They're powering up for a massive strike," Tanaka warned, his voice tense. Elena's hands tightened on her armrests. "Hold course. All power to forward shields. Brace for impact." The space between the two fleets lit up with an intensity that rivaled a supernova. The Zarkon unleashed a barrage that seemed capable of shattering planets. For a heart-stopping moment, it looked as if the human fleet would be vaporized. But as the light faded, the impossible became reality. The human ships emerged from the onslaught, their adaptive hulls glowing white-hot but intact. And they were still advancing. "Now," Elena shouted. "All ships, open fire." From the human fleet erupted a storm of weapons fire unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Phase cannons, quantum torpedoes, and swarms of smart projectiles all converged on the Zarkon line. The result was catastrophic for the alien armada. Ships that had seemed invulnerable mere days ago now crumbled under the human assault. Explosions rippled through the Zarkon formation as vessel after vessel succumbed. But the victory came at a cost. Human ships, their defenses exhausted by the earlier barrage, fell to Zarkon counterattacks. The Defiance shuddered as a direct hit took out its port engines. "Hull breach on decks 7 through 12, an officer reported, her voice strained. "We've lost a third of our weapons." Elena gritted her teeth. They were bleeding the Zarkon, but at this rate, there might not be much of a human fleet left when the battle was over. They needed a game-changer. As if in answer to her thoughts, Dr. Vega's voice came over the comm. "Captain, we've done it. We've found a way to destabilize their space-time distortions, but we'll need to get close, really close." Elena didn't hesitate. "Understood. Helm, plot an intercept course with the Zarkon flagship. All remaining ships provide covering fire." As the battered Defiance limped towards the heart of the enemy fleet, Elena addressed her crew one last time. "This could be it, people. If this works, we end the war here and now. If it doesn't, it's been an honor serving with each and every one of you." The Defiance plunged into the midst of the Zarkon formation, alarms blaring as enemy fire pounded its weakened shields. They were so close now that the alien flagship filled the entire view screen, its hull crackling with space-time distortions. "Now, Doctor," Elena shouted. A pulse of energy, unlike anything they had yet unleashed, erupted from the Defiance. It struck the Zarkon flagship dead center, and for a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, reality itself seemed to twist. The massive alien vessel began to warp and distort, as if being pulled in a dozen directions at once. In a final, silent explosion, it imploded, taking the significant portion of the Zarkon fleet with it. The bridge of the Defiance was eerily quiet as the crew stared in awe at the destruction they had wrought. Then, slowly, realization dawned. The remaining Zarkon ships were in disarray, their formation shattered. "They're retreating," Tanaka said, his voice filled with disbelief. "By God, Captain, they're actually retreating." Elena slumped in her chair, exhaustion finally overtaking her. "Send word to the Alliance. The Battle of Nebula Prime is over. We've won." As the human fleet regrouped, tending to their wounded and counting their losses, news of their victory spread like wildfire across the galaxy. Humanity, the newcomers, the underdogs, had done the impossible. They had stopped the unstoppable Zarkon advance. But Alina knew the war was far from over. The Zarkon had been bloodied, but not beaten. And now, having tasted defeat for the first time, they would be back, angrier and more desperate than ever. As she looked out at the debris-strewn battlefield, Alina allowed herself a small smile. Let them come. Humanity had proven itself on the galactic stage. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them head-on, as they always had. The Battle of Nebula Prime was over. But the true test of humanity's resolve was just the Zarkon counterattack. The jubilation following the victory at Nebula Prime was short-lived. Just as Captain Alina Reyes had predicted, the Zarkon returned with a vengeance. Their counterattack came swiftly and brutally, targeting not just military installations but civilian populations across human space. Earth's orbital defense grid lit up as a massive Zarkon fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel on the edge of the solar system. The human homeworld, for the first time in centuries, faced the very real threat of invasion. In the war room deep beneath Geneva, military and political leaders from Earth and its colonies gathered in emergency session. The holographic display at the center of the room showed the dire situation unfolding across human-controlled space. Admiral Javier Rodriguez, his face haggard from sleepless nights, addressed the assembly. The Zarkon have launched simultaneous attacks on Earth, Mars, and our major colony worlds. They've also hit key alliance planets, presumably to prevent them from coming to our aid. President Amelia Chen of the United Earth Government leaned forward, her eyes hard. Casualties. In the millions already, Rodriguez replied grimly. And rising by the hour, our outer colonies have been hit the hardest. New Eden and Proxima B are gone. A shocked murmur ran through the room. New Eden, humanity's first extrasolar colony, had been home to over 10 million people. Proxima B, with its vast industrial complexes, had been the backbone of human shipbuilding efforts. What about the fleet? Someone asked. Where's the Defiance? Rodriguez pulled up another display. Captain Rice and what's left of our main battle group are en route, but they took heavy damage at Nebula Prime. They won't arrive in time to prevent a ground invasion of Earth. President Chen's voice cut through the growing panic in the room. Then we fight them on the ground. Humanity didn't come this far to roll over now. Admiral, initiate Protocol Omega Red. Rodriguez paled. Madam President, are you sure? That protocol was designed as an absolute last resort. The collateral damage will be less than what the Zarkon will do if we let them take Earth. Chen finished firmly. Do it. As the Admiral hurried to carry out the order, Shen turned to address the room. Ladies and gentlemen, we are facing the greatest threat in human history. But we faced extinction before, and we've always found a way to survive. Now we fight not just for ourselves, but for every race in this galaxy that can't stand up to the Zarkon. We will not go quietly into the night. We will rage against the dying of the light. Across Earth and its remaining colonies, sirens wailed as Protocol Omega Red was initiated. Long-dormant defense systems awakened, mountain ranges split open to reveal hidden missile silos, and civilians were herded into vast underground shelters. In orbit, the first wave of Zarkon ships breached Earth's defense grid. Drop pods rained down on major cities, disgorging alien troops onto human soil. The battle for Earth had begun. Meanwhile, light years away, the Defiance limped through space, pushing its damaged engines to the limit. On the bridge, Captain Alina Reyes pored over tactical displays, her face a mask of determination and worry. Status report, she barked. Commander Tanaka responded, his voice tight with tension. We're still 12 hours out from Earth, Captain. We're picking up distress calls from all over human space. It's bad. Helena slammed her fist on the armrest of her chair. Damn it. We need to be there now. Any word from Dr. Vega? As if on cue, the scientist's voice came over the comm. Captain, I think I've found something. Remember how we destabilized the Zarkon's space-time distortions at Nebula Prime? Well, I've been thinking, what if we could use that same principle to create our own distortions? Alina's eyes widened as she grasped the implications. You're talking about creating our own faster-than-light drive based on Zarkon tech. Exactly, Zora confirmed. It's risky, and I can't guarantee it'll work, but do it. Alina interrupted. Whatever resources you need, whatever risks are involved, we need to get back to Earth, and we need to do it now. As Zara and her team worked frantically to modify the Defiance's engines, the situation on Earth grew dire. Major cities around the globe were under siege, with Zarkon forces pushing back human defenders street by street. In orbit, the space battle raged on. Earth's defense platforms and the remnants of its home fleet fought valiantly, but they were outgunned and outmatched. One by one, the orbital defenses fell silent. Just as all seemed lost, a miracle occurred. The Defiance, along with its battle group, burst into existence on the edge of the solar system. The human ships, their hulls still bearing scars from Nebula Prime, plunged into the fray without hesitation. On the Defiance's bridge, alarms blared as the ship's systems struggled to cope with the strain of the improvised faster-than-light jump. Hull integrity at 62% and falling, an officer reported. That jump did a number on us, Captain. Alina gritted her teeth. Doesn't matter. All ships, engage the enemy. Protect Earth at all costs. The arrival of Reyes and her fleet turned the tide of the orbital battle. Human ships, employing the tactics and technologies that had proven so effective at Nebula Prime, tore into the Zarkon formations. But even as they gained the upper hand in space, Alina knew the real fight was happening on the ground. Tanaka, get me a secure line to Earth Command. We need to coordinate our efforts. As the battle raged around them, Alina conferred with Admiral Rodriguez and President Chen. A plan began to form, a desperate, all-or-nothing gambit that could either save humanity or doom it entirely. It's insane, Rodriguez protested. The risk is necessary, Alina finished. We've tried conventional tactics. Now it's time to do what humans do best, the unexpected. With the plan set in motion, Alina addressed her fleet one last time. This is Captain Rice to all ships. What we're about to attempt has never been done before. It probably shouldn't be possible. But humanity has always excelled at doing the impossible. Whatever happens next, know that the fate of not just Earth, but the entire galaxy, rests on our shoulders. Let's show the Zarkon what humans are truly capable of. As the Defiance and its sister ships moved into position, the Zarkon fleet seemed to sense that something momentous was about to occur. They began to concentrate their fire on the human vessels, determined to stop whatever plan was unfolding. But it was too late. In a coordinated maneuver that required split-second timing and nerves of steel, the human fleet executed their desperate gambit. The results would reshape the course of the war and the future of the galaxy itself. The fate of humanity hung in the balance as the skies above Earth lit up with a display of power and technology beyond anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. The Zarkon counterattack had brought humanity to the brink of extinction, but in doing so, it had also forced them to reach heights of ingenuity and courage they had never before achieved. As the final phase of the plan unfolded, Alina Reyes stood on the bridge of the Defiance, her eyes fixed on the blue-green orb of Earth. Whatever happened next, she knew that this moment would be remembered for generations to come, as either the last stand of humanity or the day they turned the tide against an implacable foe. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see which it would be. Triumph of humanity. The skies above Earth blazed with energy as the human fleet executed their desperate plan. Captain Alina Reyes stood at the helm of the Defiance, her hand steady despite the chaos unfolding around her. This was the moment that would decide the fate of not just humanity, but the entire galaxy. All ships, initiate start-and-serve protocol on my mark, Alina commanded, her voice carrying across the fleet-wide channel. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of countless lives resting on her next words. 3, 2, 1. Mark. In perfect synchronization, the human ships activated the modified faster-than-light drives they had reverse-engineered from Zarkon technology. But instead of jumping to another location, they created a web of localized space-time distortions around the Zarkon fleet. The effect was immediate and catastrophic for the alien invaders. Zarkon ships found themselves caught in a maze of warped space, their own technology turned against them. Some vessels were torn apart by conflicting gravitational forces, while others phased partially out of normal spacetime, becoming ghostly apparitions. "It's working," Commander Tanaka exclaimed, his eyes wide as he watched the sensor readings. "The Zarkon fleet is in disarray." Elena allowed herself a small smile, but she knew the battle was far from over. "Press the advantage. All ships, target their command vessels. Let's cut the head off this snake." As the space battle turned decisively in humanity's favor, the situation on the ground remained dire. Zarkon ground forces, cut off from orbital support, fought with increased desperation and brutality. In the war room beneath Geneva, President Chen received the news of the fleet's success with grim satisfaction. "It's time for Phase 2, she announced to her advisors. "Initiate Operation Lazarus." Across the globe, in hidden bunkers and secret facilities, a new type of weapon came online. These were not the conventional arms of war, but something far more subtle and powerful. Swarms of nanobots, infused with advanced AI, and capable of interfacing with any technology, were released into the atmosphere. As the nanobots spread, they began to infiltrate Zarkon technology. Battle mechs stumbled and fell. Energy weapons overloaded and exploded in their wielders' hands. Communication networks dissolved into static. In orbit, Elena watched in awe as reports flooded in from the surface. "They did it," she breathed. "Earth actually did it." Dr. Zara Vega, who had been monitoring the situation, turned to Elena with excitement in her eyes. "Captain, I'm detecting a significant change in the Zarkon energy signatures. It's as if their connection to their power source is being disrupted." Elena's mind raced with the implications. The nanobots must be affecting their ability to manipulate spacetime. "This is our chance to end this, once and for all." She opened a channel to the fleet. "All ships, this is Captain Reyes. Concentrate all fire on the Zarkon flagship. Let's finish this." The combined firepower of the human fleet, no longer hindered by seemingly impenetrable Zarkon defenses, converged on the massive alien vessel. For a moment, it seemed to resist, its hull glowing with otherworldly energies. Then, with a silent flash that momentarily outshone the sun, the Zarkon flagship disappeared from existence. A stunned silence fell over the bridge of the Defiance. Then, slowly, sensor readings began to confirm what they all hoped. The remaining Zarkon ships, bereft of leadership and with their core technology failing, were retreating. "They're running," Tanaka said, disbelief evident in his voice. "Captain, we've won." As the news spread, cheers erupted across the human fleet and on the battered surface of Earth. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged victorious. In the days that followed, the full scope of what had been achieved became clear. The Zarkon invasion had been repelled not just at Earth, but across the galaxy. Reports came in from alliance worlds of Zarkon forces suddenly losing cohesion and retreating in disarray. A week after the battle, Captain Elena Reyes found herself standing before the Galactic Council once again. But this time, instead of skepticism and fear, she was met with respect and gratitude. Ambassador Genla, her iridescent skin glowing with emotion, addressed the assembly. "Humanity has done what we thought impossible. They have not only saved themselves, but all of us. The galaxy owes them a debt that can never be fully repaid." As murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber, Elena stepped forward. "Thank you, Ambassador. But we didn't fight this war for glory or gratitude. We fought because it was the right thing to do." because every sentient being deserves the chance to live free from tyranny. She paused, looking around at the gathered representatives. The Zarkon have been defeated, but they're not destroyed. They'll be back, maybe not tomorrow or next year, but someday. And when they do, they'll find a galaxy united and ready to face them. Elena's words carried the weight of prophecy. In the years that followed, humanity took its place as a leading member of the Galactic Alliance. The technology and tactics developed to fight the Zarkon were shared and refined. Worlds that had once viewed humans with suspicion now sought their protection and counsel. But even as they helped forge a new era of peace and cooperation, humanity never forgot the lessons of the Zarkon War. They remained vigilant, their ships patrolling the dark spaces between stars, ever watchful for the return of their ancient enemy. And on Earth, in a quiet glade not far from where the final battle had been fought, a monument was erected. It bore no grand inscriptions, no lists of the fallen. Instead, it was a simple plaque with words that embodied the spirit that had carried humanity to victory. To the stars we looked for our future. In the face of annihilation, we found our strength. United, we stand as guardians of all life. For in our darkest hour, we became the light. As the galaxy entered a new age of exploration and discovery, the human spirit that had turned the tide against the Zarkon burned brighter than ever. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever new wonders or terrors the universe held, humanity stood ready to face them, not alone, but as part of a greater galactic community they had helped to forge in the crucible of war. The story of humanity's triumph against the Zarkon would be told for generations to come, a testament to the indomitable will of a species that refused to go quietly into the night. It was a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope could be found. And that sometimes, the most unlikely of heroes could rise to save not just their own world, but an entire galaxy. As Captain Elena Reyes stood on the observation deck of the newly christened Defiance II, watching the stars streak by, she smiled. The adventure was far from over. In fact, it had only just begun.